In this video, I'm going to start talking about JavaScript objects to get basically some basics about JavaScript objects, and then I'll do some improvements using object to this replacement in our email template. If you don't know what is going on with this code, go ahead and watch the previous video when I actually built this, which is a code that's sending emails to a list of people we have here. Right now we have only a list of one, but there could be more. But that's not really the point. What we want to do is improve on this template, and what this part was doing right here, the message body, is basically on this template tab. We have this template message, and we're using this curly braces with some word in it, and then we basically find that in our text and replace that with the person's name or the title of the class and all of that. So, and I really don't like the way it was handled in this code right here, and I'm gonna make it a little more modular, and in the meantime I'll talk about JavaScript objects. So to keep this separate, let's first of all create a function, and I'll call this function learn, I guess. So as good as any. So that's going to be my function. Under this function, I want to talk about objects. So in JavaScript, I had a video about arrays, and this will be about now objects. So to create an object, I'm going to go ahead and create a variable that's going to hold this object. So I'm going to call this why not just call it maybe info, just as good as any, equals. And to create an object, you'll have to use this curly brackets. And in this curly brackets, we have what we call key and value pairs. And what does that mean? Let's say we are trying to hold some information, and that information is going to be, for example, we want to know the person's name, and the name is going to be I don't know, Lisa, and then that's just one piece of information we can hold in this. So I'm actually just gonna keep it at that, right? So I'm gonna save it as a variable. So now this info variable is gonna hold this object right here. And inside of that object, we have this key, which is name, and the value for that key is Lisa. So if you wanted to access that, the Lisa part of this, you would have to, let's do logger log to see how it works. And I'm going to take that info, which is this variable, and I want Lisa, which is the name. So I'm going to do this square brackets, and I'm going to do name in quotes, semicolon to end the line. So now if I run this code, it should output Lisa as a result, because info name should return Lisa. Let's try that. Run, learn, go under view, logs, and there it is. You can see we're returning that Lisa. Now in objects, obviously we can store more things than just one thing. So in addition to Lisa's name, we can store her gender. So we do gender, and I'll do something like female. There it is. We can keep going. I can do comma and do like eye color, and then blue. Oh, that's text. Here we are. That's eye color. I can do space here. Let's do one more thing. Let's do something like age. And let's do something like 31. And because this is a number, no quotes here, right? So save. So now to access any one of those things, so if I want the name, I get the info name. But if I wanted to get her eye color, I'm going to go info eye color. And if I save this and run it, see, I'm getting blue which is the eye color. And if I do the age, I'm gonna get that 31. So run that, logs, there it is, 31. So that's how we can access parts of our object. Now you may see this typed in different ways, so you don't have to put all of this on a single line. So what I could do, I could just format this in a different way, maybe move this to a separate line for each one. These. There we are. Maybe move this closing all the way down here. And that's another way to have this typed in. Now you could also move this to a whole new line here and have this way. So again, it doesn't matter, whichever one it makes it easy. It could also be on a single line. So one thing to mention here, to make sure, don't do commas in the end here after the last key value pair. So this is it after the age, unless we want something else that's gonna go like maybe address, right? And we'll put address. Then we don't really need a comma after the last one. So there it is. If I save this, so it's formatted in a different way, but this shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. I think I've talked about this before. It's basically the semicolon is our end of line, and we just basically move to different lines to make it easier to read. Now the next thing I want to talk about is how I can loop through these items in our object. So I did show you how to loop through items in array. Now I'm going to show you how to loop through this items in this object. So to do that, I'm going to use a for loop. And let's do this. And first of all, in this for loop, what I'm going to do is we'll have to use our iterator. So I'll do variable, I'm going to call this variable key in info, and I'll explain you what's going on here. So this is like for each type of loop. So we're saying, so for each thing in our info, assign a key variable for it and keep looping through those. So to show you what happened here, let's take that logger log out of there. Move this to the same level here. So I'm going to say, let's just logger log that key. Right, this key variable that I just made. I'm gonna save, run, view the logs. See, it says name, gender, eye, color, and age. So there it is. So basically we're getting the key. Remember what I said, this is like key value pair, right? So this is the key before the colon, and this is the value for that key. So right now I'm getting the key when I loop through these items, and I'm getting name, gender, eye color, and age as the key. Now, what if I also wanted to get the value? So what I can do this syntax. So I can do this array key val. And then let's just log another line, and this is going to be the val. And again, these are variables, this key and val. So this could be like k and v, or really anything else. So I'm just calling them key val, so for key and value. So there it is. So let's run this, and this is like an array syntax. So I'm putting two things in it and run it. Go under logs, and you can see how we get name Lisa, gender female, eye color blue, age 31. So name Lisa, which means that this first line is the key, which is name, and the second one is the val, which is Lisa. And then gender female, eye color blue, age 31. So that's how we can loop through our object here. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's a little bit about our objects. Now, in your objects, you could sometimes have, so let's actually just take this out for a second. So let's say in our objects, we have also an array. So what does that mean? So let's say we have age 31, and then we have favorite colors, right? I'm gonna do that for short. And let's say this person has multiple favorite colors, and we're gonna store them as an array. So we're gonna say green, red, blue, right? And we can also do something like this. So if I wanted to access this favorite colors, so if I go under, let's do our log thing again, and I'm gonna go under, that's the info, and then I'm gonna do, that's the key. Make sure, don't forget the square bracket here. So this is just gonna give us that array, right? So if I run this, see logs, it's gonna give me that array, green, red, and blue. So what if I wanted the second thing in that array? So in arrays, if you remember, the index starts from 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So if I wanted to get the red, I would say that and the first index with a square bracket. So if I run this, look at the log, see I get red, which is the second thing. So that's how we can access that. We can also have what else? Objects inside of objects. What does that mean? So let's say we have an address, and for this address, I hate this editor. So address, I'm going to do some information. So what is some information we'll have for our address? We'll have, let's say, the street, we'll have the city, we'll have the zip code, right? Things like that. So we're trying to now store 3 pieces of information inside of this one thing that's called address, which means I'm going to create another, are you kidding me? So there it is. So another object here, and I'm going to say street, and this is gonna be 111 North Michigan Avenue, and I'm gonna have the city, and it's gonna be Chicago, and I'm gonna have the zip code, and that should be, I don't know, 606, let's say 01. And I guess we'll put zip code as text. There's no reason to keep it as a number. So that's now this object inside of our object as the address. So if we want to access that, so let's take this out for a second here. So this is going to be the address inside of our info. So that's going to give us this object. Now inside of this object, let's say we want to get the city. So what we do another set of square brackets, and we type city, which is this part that I need. So this should return Chicago. So let's go ahead and do this. Logs, there it is, Chicago. And if I wanted to get, let's say, the zip code, I'll do zip code here, right? Save, run, view log. There it is. That's our zip code. So that's the way we can access objects. So you can put objects inside of objects. You can actually do another object inside. So for example, you could do like phone numbers, and then you can do another object like office number, cell phone number, etc. as another object inside of this object that's inside of the other object, and so on. So you can get more complicated with this stuff. But so why am I talking about all of this? It's because I want to use the object to improve this code that I had on top. So what my intention is going to be is, well, we're not going to have an info variable, but I'll copy this part and I'll go here. So if you remember, we were replacing some things in our template, and what I'm replacing here, where is the replacement line? Right here. So I'm replacing the name, the title, and who knows, maybe other things. But for right now, we'll just stick with the name and the title. So what I want to do, I want to actually have an object that's going to hold those things. So I'm going to create an object here. Let's put this back, and I'm going to call this information, I guess. And why not just keep it info? Good enough. So we had two things. I'm going to remove those. So the first one was name. So, oh, it's already there. So name is going to be Lisa, and the gender, we don't have gender. So the next one is the title. Now, instead of doing this Lisa as the name, I'm going to say current name, which is going to store our current name in there. And instead of doing a title, I'm going to say current class title. So those are the things I'm going to want to be replaced in my message body. I want the name to be replaced with current name, title with current class title. And basically the whole point of this is that later on, if I decide I'm going to modify my template and I'm going to add something else to it, I would be able to just come in here and basically just change one thing and just say the date is going to be, I don't know, current date, and be able to handle that without actually having to do any modifications below. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. So name is current name, title is current class title. That's what we're going to assign. Now what I need to do, instead of having all of this replace stuff, I'm going to have to handle it in a different way. What way is that? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to loop through, actually just to make sure I don't send out any emails, let's comment that line out. So the first thing I want to do, I want to loop through this object, through all the things that are available in that object. And what do I mean by this? So I'm going to go for var, and we'll do our key value pair, key val in, and that's info. I don't know, maybe I should call this like class info or something. Or anyways, I'm just gonna call it info. I don't like that variable name, but I'll keep it anyway. So key val in info, basically that's gonna loop through those things, and the key is gonna get name, the val is gonna get the current name, which should be basically this, John Doe, right? And then we're going to get the title, which is going to be Excel introduction, which is going to be title is going to be the key, and the value is going to be that Excel introduction. So for each one of those values, what do we want to do? So what we want to do, first of all, let's just do a variable message body right above this for. So that's going to be our initial message body. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that message body and replace things in it. My message body is going to be my template text, which is, if you remember, the template text we got from here. Again, if you don't know what this is and how it works, go back and watch the video before. So this is what it's going to get, which is going to be this text from right here. And that's going to be our template text. And we want to replace every single thing we listed here. So we want to find if there's a name, replace the name. We want to find if there's a title, replace the title. If you do another comma and something else, we want to find that and replace that as well until we replace all of the items in our template. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for, and instead of looking for the name, because this is going to change, I'm going to say, let's look for, and I'm going to do a little concatenation here and use this, and I'm going to do the key. The key is going to be the name, right? So I'm going to replace here, and I'm going to put this name right here. So that way we'll search for name first, and for the second time we'll search for title, and for the third time we'll search for the next thing, and then it's gonna keep looping until we get through all of them. So that's gonna do that. And what are we replacing that by? So we're replacing that with this. For when it's the name, we want to replace it with current name. When it's title, and we want to replace it with current class title, and that's gonna be this val. So the value. So that's what we want to do. So that's gonna run through this, and the first run is gonna go through this message body, and it's gonna run the template text and replace that and put it in the body. But I've missed something here because the next time we want to replace the one that we already have. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say that message body should be my template text, and then I'll say my message body is the message body that I'm going to replace with this. And why am I doing this, right? So this message body is going to become my template text, which is this thing over here. Now on the first run of this for loop, we're going to search for the name in that. We're going to find this name with brackets, and we're going to replace it with that person's name. But it's not going to replace the title. So at that point, it's just going to have the name replaced. And then on the second run, we're going to start looking for the title now in it. And then we're going to replace it with the title, and so on and so on and so on until our message body is done. So I don't think I'm going to need this line anymore. So this should just disappear. So just to make sure this works, I'm going to go logger log. And the data is going to be my message body. So I want to make sure I run this, and I want to make sure my message body is accurate. And just for better accuracy here, let's actually get another person here. So intermediate. Perfect. So we have two people here. I'm going to go back to my script, run, send emails. So if you look at our log, see, hello, John Doe. This is a reminder that you have upcoming Excel introduction class. Best, and I should probably spell regards right, but there it is. And then the next one is Lisa Smith and Excel intermediate class. So we're able to change all of those. And what's cool about this now is that if I go back and modify my template, and let's say I'm going to also add something else. So let's add some extra information here. So let's add another column, and we're going to say date. We're going to say this is going to be October 25, 2017, right? And this is October 27, 2017. So this way I want to add the date also, and this is going to be our column 4. So here I'm going to just add that date. Current date. We're going to get the current date from the column 4 right here. Perfect. So what we will do, we'll say this is the current date, and we're going to add another thing. We're going to say date, current date. And now I can just go to my template, and in my template I can say upcoming, you have an upcoming class, Excel introduction class on date, something like that. And now I'm adding another element to my template, and if I go back and just run this, let's view our log, and you can see, hello, John Doe. This is a reminder that you have an upcoming Excel class on Wednesday, October 25th, 2017, blah, blah, GTM, blah, 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 blah. So apparently this came as a JavaScript object, and it basically just turned that out this way. So that means the date when I'm getting it right here, I need to convert it to a more human-friendly date, I guess. And we can do that. To get that done, I'm going to go here, and instead of getting the value for the date, I'll get the display value, which means just show me the visual text instead of getting the object. So if I save this, I run this one more time, let's look at our logs. So there it is. This is a reminder that an upcoming Excel class on October 25th, 2017, blah, blah, blah. So now we can just keep adding things to our template, and it will just work without having to do any additional modification later on in our code. Now, the only thing that I want to do at this point, I would like to move this entire thing to a separate function so that it's not inside of this code. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to move all the way down, and let's remove this. And I'm going to call this template engine, I guess. It's as good as any. So this is going to receive an object as a variable, and what we'll do, I'm going to paste that loop, but now that info is not going to be an info, it's going to be the object that we're going to get, right? And here we're going to have our template, and our template, where is our template? We're getting our template over here. I'm going to cut that from here. We're not going to get the template over there. We're going to get our template over here. So that we're going to go get our template, and then we'll take our template text, and again, I should probably just do it over here, but since I did it that way before, I'll create another variable. It's not probably very efficient to make this unnecessary variable. So template text. So that's, I'm going to make it my template text, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my message body replacements based on that object. And when it's all said and done, I want to make sure I return that message body text. There we are. And that's our template engine, I guess we're calling that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back here, and instead of having all of this, I'm going to say var message body equals to, and I'm simply going to call that function with this info, which is going to be the object. So I'm going to send this info here to this template engine, and that template engine is gonna put it here. It's gonna run this. It's gonna give us this message body. It's gonna get returned, which when it's returned, it's gonna then be stored in this message body variable here, which we should be able to use later on. So again, to make sure everything is working just fine, I'm gonna run this, send emails, and go take a look at my log. So blah, 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 works just fine. So that's good. So now we've extracted it to its own function. Now, the only thing that I don't like here right now is like this line, is because when you have multiple people, we have to get this variable every single time. And then for the second person, we do this over and over again inside of our loop over, where is it? Over here in our loop. It would be nice to just do this once. Curious what happens if we take this outside of our function. Put it in a variable. I'm not sure how this is going to react to this, but and judging that this turned black may not react to it very well. Let's just run this, see what we get. View log, and seem to have worked just fine. Interesting. So we can get our template apparently and then use it. So I guess I'm going to keep it that way for now until I figure out why I probably shouldn't do it over here. But for now, it's fine. So in the worst case scenario, I could pass that template as a part of that function, which is probably a better way of handling it. So let's actually do it that way. So I'm gonna actually get, I don't want to clutter the whole namespace. So I'll just get my variable template text here, and I'll grab that template text that I had, and I'll send it to my function in this template text as a second argument, and that's going to be an object and the template text. Save, and I should be able to run my send emails again and get the same results. Perfect. So that's fine, I guess. So that should handle that part just fine. So that looks pretty good here. That's a little bit about objects and how we can utilize them. And one more thing, I guess, is going to be this mail that we're sending. And this mail app has actually a fourth argument you can use. And if you send it this way, like we've been sending in the last video, this is going to send it to this email with the subject line and this message body. But when somebody receives that email in the from field, it's not going to show that it came from somebody in like nicely typed form. It's just going to show that it came from this email address. It would be nicer to modify it so it shows the company name as from. And to do that, I can do another argument here, and this argument should be passed as an object, and that would be the name element, and the name is going to be this. And just to make sure before I forget, let's do this. Perfect. So this should work the same way. So I can use the button like I was doing before, and that should send our emails out, and that should work. So now we should have a from field, which should read that it came from this company or this person. All right, that should do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.